Okay, well, we are turning to a new Bible study tonight. We're in the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes, you may have to take Xanax or something as you read through this book, because this can be one of the most depressing books that you've ever read in the Bible.
Xanax ain't gonna help that.
It won't?
No.
I thought it helps with fear and anxiety.
No, it'll make you a little bit more depressed if
Oh, does it?
your head does.
Okay, well, I'm not an expert on the drugs, so I don't know. I'm going to take a cough drop. That's about as strong as I get.
That's about what you need.
All right, so anyway, we are, basically this book is a pursuit for purpose. Why am I here? Why am I here? To ask that question. What is our purpose? Why are we here? So beginning, anybody know who wrote this book?
Solomon.
Solomon wrote it. What other books did Solomon write? Proverbs.
Psalms.
Song of Songs. Most scholars believe that Solomon wrote these three books in this period of time, that he wrote Song of Songs when he was a younger man in romantic endeavors, and then he wrote Proverbs when he was a little bit older, and he wrote Ecclesiastes later in life. So whether or not that's true, I'm not sure, but that's what many scholars believe as far as the timeline in these books. So anyway, let's begin here in verse 1. I am reading from the Holman Christian Standard, so it's going to be a little bit different from yours. I always like it says, the old King James says, vanity, all is vanity. And it doesn't read that way in this translation. Vanity of vanities. Anyway, he writes here, the words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. So right there we have the author of this book. Verse 2, here it comes. Vanity of vanities, or he says here, absolute futility. Now, that's pretty depressing right there, isn't it? Absolute futility, says the teacher or preacher. Ecclesiastes actually has been called, translated preacher, the preacher. Here it's translated as the teacher, so either way. Absolute futility, everything is futile. What does a man gain for his efforts? He labors at under the sun. Now let me just stop right there. That is going to be the major refrain in this book. And that is key to understanding this book. This book is looking at life in a lost condition. This is looking at everything, and he will look at every aspect of life. In his wisdom, his human wisdom, he looks at everything in life, but he looks at it from the perspective of being lost or without God. And the refrain, the reason why it says that, the refrain is this, under the sun. It's a natural view. It's not a heavenly or eternal view. And that's why he writes the book this way. Okay, it'll make sense as we continue to read it. Verse 4, a generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. In other words, nothing ever changes, right? Sun comes up, sun goes down, sun comes up, sun goes... You know, nothing ever changes. And you know, in a way, we kind of like change in our life. Matter of fact, what do most politicians run on? What do they run on? Change! We're going to change things, right? Because nothing's good enough. They'll always run on change. And the futility here is nothing ever changes. Verse 5, the sun rises and the sun sets. Panting, it returns to its place where it rises. Gusting to the south, turning to the north, turning goes the wind. And the wind returns in its cycles. All the streams flow to the sea, yet the sea is never full. You ever think about stuff like that? See, that's what I'm saying, that's why. The streams all flow to the sea, but the sea is never full.
I've always wondered why Niagara Falls doesn't run out of
who
water.
thinks about things like that? See, he's very wise. God gave him wisdom. But what happened in Solomon too, as he got older in life, he did disobey God in the sense that he married outside of his faith and had many wives, and he allowed these women to influence him to the point he even started building temples and sanctuaries for their gods. Now I believe Solomon will be in heaven one day. I believe he's going to make it because he's one of God's chosen. He's going to make it. But he got lost in the way, along the way. And this is what can happen to us. It happened to the wisest men, but it's very well. And you know the problem with wisdom or too much education? Some of the most educated people are some of the most foolish people in the world. Because some of them don't know how when to come in out of the rain.
Common sense, no common sense.
Well, they think they're smarter than everybody else.
Well, and the reason why they get so much education, it feeds their human pride. And once you think you know it all, that's when you begin to know nothing. And so but anyway, that's the danger of this, of wisdom. But anyway, that's pretty profound though, right? All the streams flow to the sea, yet the sea is never full. The streams are flowing to the place, and they flow there again. So now he's talking about the sun, he's talking about the wind, he's talking about the hydrological cycle. Okay? And then verse 3.
$25 words.
I'm sorry?
That's one of those $25 words.
The hydrological cycle.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't go to school for 30 years for nothing. All words are wearisome. Man is unable to speak. Now verse 8, it has here, all things are wearisome in my translation. But I've scratched that out and put all words.
Mine
What-
says all
what-
things are full of labor.
What is it?
Says
Full
Verse
of
8?
Full of labor, and man cannot utter it.
Okay.
Mine just says everything
Everything is wearisome.
is unutterably weary and tiresome.
Okay.
Mine says, in the subnotes, it says all things, and then the subnote says or words.
Or word. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why I thought it was more, and as I looked at the Hebrew, it seemed to tend to be more towards something that's verbal as I read that. So I'm going to read it this way. All words are wearisome. Man is unable to speak. And so what he's saying here, I think, is that we talk and we talk and we talk, but there's no lasting wisdom. Everybody's got an opinion on everything, yet, you know, and people's opinions can wear you out, but nothing, whatever lasts. And then he's going to talk about the eye. The eye is not satisfied by seeing, or the ear filled with hearing. You know, the eye is insatiable. You know what drives pornography? You know what the #1 revenue thing in the United States is pornography. #1 revenue maker in the United States is pornography.
Really?
Yes. And what it does, especially for men are excited through the eye gate by seeing things. Women are more excited or moved by the ear gate. Women are more verbal creatures. Guys are more visual creatures. That's the way God made us different. And so, what he's basically saying here is the eye. Look what he says here about the eye. The eye is not satisfied with seeing. It's insatiable. Always wanting to see more. Always wanting to see better. You know, that's the insatiable appetite of the human flesh. Or the ear filled with hearing. How many love songs have been written and sung, and yet they're going to continue to write love songs? It's because we don't get enough. We can't get enough. Nothing ever satisfies us. That's wisdom. What he's writing here is he's really observing human behavior. Is what he's doing. And he's writing this down and documenting human behavior.
I can't get no satisfaction.
I can't get no satisfaction. Oh, I tried and I tried. I can't get, no, go ahead, Mike, break out some.
Hey, Don.
Yes,
But when he's talking about, you know, the generation passes and comes back, the sun rises, goes down, comes back, the sea keeps, isn't that just like God? He's never, no beginning and no end, and it just,
it is, but once again, he's seeing this, you're right, that's the way we can see it, is that, in a way it's comforting, is that the sun does come up and the sun goes down, but he's writing everything from under the sun. It's like, what's the use?
he's in a depressed.
Why am I here? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's my purpose? I've done everything and still my soul is not satisfied. That's why the refrain here, you're going to read time and time again, under the sun, under the sun. It's a temporal, human, fleshly perspective. So when you're talking to lost people, that's really how you can kind of appeal to them. It's like, hey, you ever wonder why your flesh is never satisfied? You ever wonder why? You know, and just maybe broach those kind of subjects, because he's talking about human behavior in a lost condition here. Okay, verse 9, what has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new, where?
Under the sun.
Under the sun, there it is again. Nothing new under the sun.
Same old new day.
Same old,
Same old new day.
right? This verse 9 cracks me up though. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done.
I think there was a song written kind of like that too.
Yeah.
Whatever will be, will be.
Or like a country song,
Okay, Sarah, Sarah.
no matter where you go, there you are,
There you
or
are.
something like that.
Yeah, no matter where you go, there you are.
Verse 10, can one say about anything, look, this is new? It has already existed in the ages before us. Now, you know, the thing about he writes this, and he writes this before the technology of the 20th century. Because right now, everything in a way is new. All our toys and our components are new every day. But the concept is not new.
He's talking about what changes life.
Yeah, right.
They make words new every day. Now,
What's
they
that?
change a word. They take a word and make it new. Make it a different, have a
Give
different
it a
meaning.
different meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They try.
Right. Now, verse 11, there is no memory of those who came before, and of those who will come after. There will also be no memory among those who follow them. See how despairing that is?
Yeah.
You know, there's no memory of those who came before. How many of you, when you drive over the Kennedy Bridge, think of John F. Kennedy when you're driving over the bridge?
No.
You don't, but it's the John F. Kennedy Memorial Bridge. But do you really think about John F. Kennedy? No.
Our younger generation.
Do you still, maybe Steve does.
Well,
He's thinking
When they
about
turned it into a toll bridge, first thing I thought was Democrats.
What do you say? When they turned it into a
Taxation,
first
that
thing you thought was the
representation.
Democrats. No, our younger generation, I get this so many times from Morgan. She's 25 now, okay? And she's a college graduate. She's a sweet kid, but still, she's... Nana, have you seen this? What is it? They got paper straws now. Really? Guess what I had when I was a kid? Paper straws. We never heard of plastic.
Yeah.
Nana, did you see you just got to go to Dillard's and see these new jeans. I mean, they are the cutest things. I looked at them. I said, Morgan, your Aunt Nita was wearing those when she was a teenager. Oh, she wasn't. Yeah, she was. All they did was clean out an old
They
warehouse.
must have bell bottoms in there.
All styles come back about every 20 years.
That's what Mom always said. Don't throw your clothes away.
Yeah.
Put them in the back of your closet because they're going to come back in style again.
That's right.
Unfortunately, I can't wear them anymore.
Yeah.
I remember back when we were kids, you'd wear the knees out of your pants and wear them, and now they sell them at pennies.
Yeah, exactly, for $100,
$100.
yeah.
Yeah,
These
exactly.
are out and you throw them away. It's like, geez, they have holes in them.
No, you put a cool patch on them.
Yeah.
No, now you wear.
Now,
them
you
the
put a
whole-
patch on the
Yeah,
inner tube on your
exactly.
bicycle
Put a
tire, that's what
patch
you
on.
put a patch on.
Yeah. Well, they don't know what that is either.
Well, they've got an app for it on their phone. But anyway, look at that, verse 11, there's no memory of those who came before, and of those who will come after, there will also be no memory among those who follow them. We're a forgetful lot. I think I've preached on that before. You know, it's sad, but even people you love, you know, you mourn, they pass away, you take their bodies, you throw them in a 6-foot hole, you throw dirt on them, you go back to somebody's house and eat potato salad.
Right.
Green beans.
And then you go home.
Yeah, but I
When you go
still
home.
think about my mom, my dad, my grandma. Shoot, I think about some of my dead dogs,
Good for you.
you know.
But
I mean, some
I think a
will
lot of
remind
people
me.
don't.
They don't.
They just move on. They move on. Because they don't want to dwell, you don't want to dwell on death anyway.
Well,
Death
it's
is
not
depressing.
dwelling, it's just,
It's
it's
just
a
the
memory.
memories, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad I still can remember.
Yeah, you remember the good times when they were here.
Yeah.
Right. And it's important to do that. But he's saying the tendency is, over time, we forget even the most precious memories.
It goes to the back of our mind.
You know.
Yeah, you just don't think
It's
about
not
it.
that you don't cherish them, you just don't remember them anymore. They
Well,
start
you
to
get
fade
busy with
away.
You get busy with other things, and whenever I forget something, I tell people, well, you know, I gotta have room for this other stuff that's coming in here, so something's gotta go. You know?
But,
That's when you turn your head over
I
and
know,
quit.
right?
But every night, I pick up on dreams that right now are high school.
Oh, wow.
And they're just like when I was a
Vivid.
young girl.
Yeah, vivid.
So
Yeah.
when people say you don't remember, in my life, I'm going over everything again.
When you were younger, yeah.
Yes.
Well, and you know, isn't that amazing, the human brain, the computer is modeled after the human brain. You know, all our memories are put in our subconscious and they're stored. And if we don't use them a lot, they just stay in storage. And then later on in life, when we're not as active, then the storage becomes more active.
that's particularly so with dementia or Alzheimer's patients.
Right.
They can remember
Yes.
stuff that happened to them years ago,
Yeah.
but something that happened 5 minutes ago, they can't.
And I heard this from a doctor years ago, and he said it's a physiological thing between the two hemispheres of your brain. There's a
Synapse.
yeah, the synapse, but that there's a part of your brain that keeps them all separated. As you get older, that wears down so that they bleed into, so your subconscious, your memory comes back a lot more as you get older. I can't remember the terms, but it makes a lot of sense. Seems logical to me. All right, let's move on to verse 12. I, the teacher, have been king over Israel and Jerusalem. I applied my mind, and here he goes. He's going to tell you exactly what he did. I applied my mind to seek and explore through wisdom all that is done under heaven. God has given people this miserable task to keep them occupied.
Mine says I gave my heart to seek and search out wisdom.
Okay. Well, he was passionate about, and that's why it says here, mine says, I applied my mind to seek and explore through wisdom all is done. And basically he's saying there, he did it with a lot of passion. He really wanted to understand. So it wasn't just a hobby, this became his passion. God has given people this miserable task to keep them occupied. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun and have found everything to be futile, a pursuit of the wind. So he's going to give a little bit more perspective here. He's going to give an example. What is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. So you can't count something if it's not there, right? I said to myself, look, I have amassed wisdom far beyond all those who were over Jerusalem before me, and my mind has thoroughly grasped wisdom and knowledge. I applied my mind to know wisdom and knowledge. You know, I've got written in my Bible here that I said to myself, look, I have amassed wisdom far beyond all who were ever in Jerusalem before me. And I put Donald Trump right there. That sounds like something Donald Trump would say, wouldn't it? No one's ever done anything as great as I've done. I love that man. I applied my mind to know wisdom and knowledge, madness and folly. I learned that this too is a pursuit of the wind. For with much wisdom is much sorrow. As knowledge increases, grief increases.
Right there it is. Solomon asked God for wisdom. God gave him more than he would ever give anybody else.
Yeah,
And here's what it did for him.
yeah.
That's him spelling out exactly that I'm just sorrowful, I'm miserable
Yeah,
with all this knowledge.
yeah, because that's just it, you know, without, and here's the thing about it, as beautiful and as wonderful as this world is, this world we live in is under a curse. And the curse of man's fall has affected our entire planet. So that even though the beautiful things and the things that make you happy are only short-lived because the world just keeps going on and there's no, you can't be satisfied. You know, ever since Adam and Eve ate of the forbidden fruit, they've never been satisfied. And that's the problem we face. Things of this earth will not satisfy us long-term. Only short-term. Only things can make us happy for short-term. Somebody had their hand up over
I
here.
have a question. So, you know, he says, I've seen all works that are done under the sun. Well, nobody's seen everything that's ever happened. Or is that because he asked God to give
Well,
him
now, wait
all
a
the
minute.
knowledge?
Wait. This book, as we get into it, you're going to find out he endeavored to do every type of applied science and every human
Really?
behavior thing under the sun.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, that's why he said at first, I explored with my mind everything you could possibly look at.
Wow.
And now this book unfolds, we're going to get specifically what he did.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
How long did this man live?
let's see what time is it here. Oh, I pulled up sorry about that. Pulled up photos and peaches.
I'd like to read a comment on
Yes.
this book state. It says, Solomon was the wisest of men, but no man ever played the fool more thoroughly than he did. He, you know, in searching all this, using his, you know, ability to
Right.
search all this stuff out, and he wasted a lot of time.
He wasted a lot of time
Yeah.
being so analytical in a way. You know, you ever run across people that are so analytical they can't see the forest for the trees?
I have a brother like that.
I mean,
He's brilliant. I can't talk to him.
yeah.
We're
They're not on the same page. You're not in the
No,
same book.
we're
Forget
not.
not on the same page.
we're not. I mean, except for the fact that, you know, he's my brother and I love him and I'm his sister and he loves me. It's just like,
Yeah,
this man builds the machines that builds the machines, okay?
yeah,
That's how smart he
Right,
is.
yeah.
He designs them and builds them.
right. Yeah.
It's like,
So anyway, but anyway, I think that's pretty interesting what he says here. Let's read this again before we go on chapter 2. He says, for with much wisdom is much sorrow. And once again, you know, because the wisdom, even the wisdom is insatiable. You learn that, but then if there is no God, there's no end purpose. There's no meaning for it. Right? I mean, if we live our lives for what? I mean, if there is no judgment, what's the use? And that's why the Bible says, the fool has said in his heart there is no God, because most people in their heart do believe there's a God and know there's a judgment. That's why most people have a semblance of morality. Even if they're not Christians, they have a semblance of morality because they know deep in their heart, God has set eternity in their hearts, that there's a day of judgment coming. And that's what keeps us civil.
I'm thinking that the wisdom of the world is one thing, but the wisdom of God is another.
Right.
And that's what we need. You know, the wisdom of this world, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Waivers.
God is where it's at, you know, wisdom of God.
Yeah, in fact, I believe that because he was a man of God, wisdom comes from God. I think man can acquire knowledge, but I think wisdom comes from God. That's the ability to apply knowledge, to make it, to give it utility. Knowledge without application has no utility.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's move on to chapter 2. I said to myself, go ahead. I will test you with pleasure and enjoy what is good. But it turned out to be futile. I said about laughter, it is madness. And about pleasure, what does this accomplish? I explored with my mind how to let my body enjoy life with wine and how to grasp folly. My mind still guiding me with the wisdom. In other words, he's saying, even while I was indulging all this, I knew that I was indulging in this for a reason. You see, that's what he's saying. Until I could see what is good for people to do under heaven during the few days of their life. So in other words, he's just going to live and be hedonistic in pleasure. I'm going to eat all the best food. I'm going to sleep with the most beautiful women. I'm going to do whatever pleases my flesh. That's what he's saying here.
I'd like to say, that helps me to understand why, when I visited the nursing homes quite a bit, there were so many people that had such an attitude like chapter 1.
What's the use?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were
why not?
totally disgusted, and
Cynical.
when I come in to say smile and say hello, how are you, this is, what's the use?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
so that was disheartening to me, because I thought, what can I do for a person that has that kind of attitude? What can we do for them? But having Jesus Christ living big in my heart, I would make an effort to encourage and comfort them and point them to the Lord. But unless something wonderful could happen, they almost enjoyed going on with their folly.
Right. Yeah.
And they tell us to visit the nursing homes, but it's not easy.
It's not easy. No. Well, and you know, even people that are Christians, you know, as our bodies start to fail us, you know, in our spirit and our mind, we want to do the things we used to do and we can't. It's like as we get older, one of the most difficult things an elderly person has to do is realize they can't drive anymore. And that's disheartening and depressing.
Unless you're Ernie.
He goes on and drives anyway.
He drives anyway.
I know, that's what I mean.
No.
And please be careful when you're around him.
Oh,
He drives on the wrong side of the road.
Who?
Ernie.
Yeah.
Does he live close to the church?
You gotta love that old
Does he
man.
live close by?
You know,
Yeah,
Over on Sharon
99
Drive.
years old and still doing for
No,
himself.
it's not that close.
yeah,
Hey, he's a testimony,
he is,
I think.
yeah, he is.
You know, kind of going back to these verses that you just read, in the commentary, it says that Solomon never lost self-control and never became an addict, but it says even pleasures pursued in moderation will not bring happiness.
Yeah. And that's kind of the way I was reading here. Even while he was indulging, he knew what he was doing. It was
And it
not,
didn't bring you
it
happiness.
was not just to forget all of his troubles like some people, addicts do, or alcoholics, or, you know, or if I want to forget my life, I want to forget my past, I want to forget my upbringing, I want to ease the pain, whatever. That's not why he did it. He did it because he really wanted to find out, is there something lasting here? It's an experiment. Right. So anyway, verse 4, I increase my achievements. So now he's going to turn away from pleasure. Now he's going to be a builder. So I built houses and I planted vineyards for myself. I made gardens and parks for myself and planted every kind of fruit tree in them. I like this guy. I constructed reservoirs of water for myself from which to irrigate a grove of flourishing trees. I acquired male and female servants and had slaves who were born in my house. I also owned many herds of cattle and flocks, more than all who were before me in Jerusalem. There's Donald Trump. I also amassed silver and gold for myself.
There's another Donald Trump.
Yeah. And the treasure of kings and provinces. I gathered male and female singers for myself and many concubines.
Yep.
Everybody knows what concubines are, right?
It is.
Do I have to explain that to anybody?
No.
The delights of men. Thus I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. My wisdom also remained with me. In other words, it's still an experiment. You see what he's saying here? All that my eyes desired, I did not deny them. I did not refuse myself any pleasure, for I took pleasure in all my struggles. This was my reward for all my struggles. When I considered all that I had accomplished and what I had labored to achieve, I found everything to be futile and a pursuit of the wind. There was nothing to be gained
Under the sun.
under the sun.
Nothing worthwhile.
See that? Makes sense now. Doesn't this book make sense now? Because it's under the sun. It's a human, anthropocentric. How do you like that word?
Oh, that's $100 word.
That's a seminary word there, let me tell you.
Look it up, Mikey, look it up.
Anthropocentric. That's an anthropocentric view of the world.
We don't know what it means, so
You ever
we
study
don't know if
anthropology?
you're telling it right.
Anthropocentrism refers to a human-centered or anthropocentric point of view.
And still didn't tell me nothing.
It's a human point of view, a human.
You ever studied anthropology?
That's right.
Anthropology is the study of man. Yeah, okay. That's it, that's all I've got. I'm gonna leave you on the anthropocentrics.
Mikey will go home and analyze that word to midnight tonight. He'll fall asleep and wake up. He'll text you at midnight.
You know what?
I'll never text him again.
I'll text
What
back.
verse is that we're done? What verse are we get done with?
Where'd we finish?
Yeah.
We finished,
Verse 11.
Verse 11.
Okay.
verse 11, under the sun.
Can I read what my commentary says
Sure.
about the?
Yeah,
It says, Solomon conducted his search for life's meaning as an experiment. He first tried pursuing pleasure. He began grand public works programs, brought slaves and many wives and concubines, set his mind on complex matters, became extremely wealthy, organized musical groups, and supported the arts. But none of these gave him the satisfaction he was seeking.
yeah.
Sound like some of our politicians say, well, we'll do this, and it's gonna make everybody happy.
No.
Okay?
Oh, well, then, I want to hear the other side of the story.
Yeah, but he didn't.
I want
What's
to-
that? Wait a minute, hang on a minute, you guys, hang on, what?
I want you all to explain to me about Christianity. How has that affected our lives in here compared to Solomon? How are we responding to life?
Well, let's start, let's go back even before that. I think a lot of us can relate to his futility before we became Christians
Yes, I can.
in trying to find happiness and purpose,
Right.
I think, right? And how it was so fleeting. Happiness was fleeting. Like for instance, even now, you know, you think, all right, well, I'm going on vacation. Well, you know what? Years ago, I used to get, oh, I'm so excited, I'm gonna go on vacation, or I'm gonna go to an amusement park, or I'm gonna go, or Christmas is coming. And then it comes and it goes, and the letdown is so phenomenal, it's like,
Anticipation's better than the actual.
yeah,
The expectation.
right,
We
right.
build
Then
everything
you're let
up.
down because you
Yeah.
built it up in your
Yes.
head, it's gonna be a lot better and.
Yes.
And so that's the passions of living under the sun. But when you come to Christ, I mean, for me, it's just, it anchors everything. Now I just have more understanding, and I don't prioritize things in this world like I used to. Like I used to, for instance, I used to be a big sports nut. I lived and died on my ball teams. It used to be sick. I was born and raised a Kentucky fan, believe it or not. And I used to get sick when they'd lose. Ball games, get sick for 2 days.
Didn't happen too often, did it? You used to have the young man.
And you were probably really depressed for a month or until they won their next game.
But boy, when they did lose, it was devastating.
And you wanted the coach's job.
And now, I mean, like for instance, it's just, I mean, I enjoy sports now, but it's nothing like it used to be. The thrill is gone
Yeah.
when it comes to all that kind of stuff. Like, it just doesn't mean that much to me anymore. That's the way it's affected me.
Well, that's,
Being with my church family and reading the Bible and worshiping God is the number one thing in my life now. Everything else falls under that. And I still enjoy this life, but everything else takes second fiddle to that. And I'm not looking for all this stuff that the world can make me happy. That's just my story.
I think we all share in that.
yes.
I mean, really, as we grow in Christ, you know, the things of God become more meaningful to us, and our life in Christ, and, you know, the joy of fellowship and the joy of the Word of God. I think it grows as you become more mature in Christ. Whereas the things of this world just seem to become more dim.
Slowly fade. There's a song that even has that lyric in it.
Well,
Things of earth grow strangely dim in the light of His glory and grace.
Amen.
Exactly.
Because you realize that that's
Solomon
not
was-
what's
God never changes.
Yeah.
He's,
he was so smart though, that he was trying to figure out God. You know, and he's trying to figure this all out in a human
Right.
term.
And that's it.
And there's, without God, you cannot figure it out.
And that's why lost people are still lost, because they try to reason God, and you can't, God has to reveal Himself before you can understand Him. You can't reach God with human reason. He has to reveal Himself to you. That's the difference. So Revelation really is really the key. It's not just a book in the Bible. Revelation is what is needed.
And I think one of the reasons why, you know, as people get older, they're less likely to trust Christ, because they've devoted so much of their life into the world, into trying to find meaning and purpose in the world system. And they've kind of diluted
They've invested so much
Yeah.
in their life.
And they're somewhat diluted as to, well, God will understand, you know.
That, and also, I think the hardening of the heart that the Bible describes of Pharaoh and Cain and that,
Yeah.
I just will not trust, pride keeps people from Christ.
Yes, sir.
I don't care, pride will keep a person from
Yeah.
Christ.
They're proud of all the things that they've done in the world.
And I can still figure this out. I'm gonna control this and I can figure this out.
Yeah. And look at all the money I made. I'm sorry, it's just,
Yeah.
you know,
And what good does it do you?
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Because when you die, it's not
You gotta
yours.
take it with you when you
Amen.
go.
It belongs to somebody else, so
Okay, well, the good news is, you guys, we're not like Solomon, but it's interesting to read about how he tried to find out what's the purpose. Because you know what, honestly, there's three ultimate questions, really, that you need to understand reaching people. Three ultimate questions. How did I get here? Why am I here? Where am I going? Those are the three ultimate questions that any wise person will really ask.
Brother Don,
How
there's
did I get here? Why am I here?
another
Where am I going?
thought that I saw in Psalms, and it surprised me, but it's said, the writer said, I don't desire gifts anymore. There comes a time in our lives when, as a young girl, I liked gifts. And I could not care a bit
Right,
about a gift.
yeah,
I care nothing about it. I am happy when I see a person get saved.
yeah,
That's what thrills my heart.
absolutely.
I can't,
Well, that's what-
it's
and
a
that's-
joy to come to church.
That's what we live for now. That's our priority. That's why we come to church, as we want to learn more about the Bible so we can share it with people, right?
Yeah, and seeing other people get healed
Right.
or set free from addiction
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
something. This is meaningful. In other words, our lives become others, not self.
Right.
And that's what I'm
Absolutely.
seeing as I get older.
You could be an addiction counselor.
So Solomon only lived till he got 60?
60,
Yeah, that was a question I had.
Yeah,
How
I-
long did this man
That's what it
live?
says on when I looked it up.
I don't know.
60.
60. Solomon is the last ruler of
I don't
King
think we
Israel.
know.
After
I
around
don't
40
think
years, he
it's-
dies of natural causes at around 60 years of age.
Wow.
Who said that?
I Googled it.
Wikipedia? Google?
Dear, that old Google's silly. Ready to go.
I don't know. I've never really, I don't know.
Cause you just assume
He's
that
not
most
known,
people.
he's not known for his longevity of life, so I don't know, maybe he did die at 60.
Well, he just
Well,
tried
he
to
had
do something.
700
He probably
wives,
wore,
that would've killed
he
him.
wore himself out. He had all those mother-in-laws to consider.
No wonder he died so young. 600, 700?
Oh, my goodness.
And that counts overtime and all that.
Oh, my.
He got gray early before he pulled all his hair out.
Yeah.